Some more breaking news as things have just taken a major turn for this Toronto Maple Leafs team as more moves have been made, and this has been an absolutely ridiculous last 24 hours. But folks, we have some huge moves, including a surprising one surrounding Easton Cowan as things have just taken a huge turn. But not only that, we have multiple other updates, including the final roster ahead of what's going to be a crucial, of course, game one of the season against Montreal Canadiens. But before we get into it all, if you're a part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, place to be for daily Leafs content. 71% of you who are watching right now aren't subscribed to the channel. If you're enjoying content every single day, this is now the third video of the day. Make sure to hit the subscribe button. Darius, tons to go over today, and obviously we knew that more moves were on the horizon. We saw a bunch of different things happen already today. And we also have a little update surrounding James Reimer. So a ton of things to go over, but let's dive right into it. They have officially announced their quote unquote final opening day roster. And we'll dive into some of the, quirks, I guess, and features of this and how things can kind of change here. But Darius, we got some players who weren't even on the roster this morning now being on their opening day roster submission. A few players in here, you can look at them and go through them all. The most notable ones, Jacob Quillen, Sammy Blais, and of course, no Easton Cowan. Now, Darius, I want to get your thoughts on all of this. The defense group makes a ton of sense. Caden Primo is going to be their backup goalie on Wednesday. So ridiculous. I mean, this time last night, both of us were thinking, okay, Hildeby's probably the backup. Maybe it's James Reimer. Cowan's definitely making the team. And Easton Cowan was not listed here, suggesting he'll start with the Marlies. And this is where things have taken the biggest turn of all. No Easton Cowan, but we do have Jacob Quillen, which might actually be the guy who makes the team and is here for very long. We'll dive into that a little bit later. What are your thoughts on this?
There is still an avenue for Easton Cowan to play in the NHL very, very soon, if not opening night. We'll get to that in a few minutes, so stay tuned for that. But let's rip the Band-Aid off with a couple things right now. James Reimer has been released from his PTO, so he's not going to be in the organization anymore. Dennis Hildeby is the starter of the Toronto Marlies. Thank goodness. I've been talking about that for a while at this point. And then Caden Primo obviously just claimed off waivers. He is the backup goaltender for the Toronto Maple Leafs for the foreseeable future. I also wonder what that says about Joseph Woll and his timeline. There's no update there. But the defense, the goaltending, it all makes sense. Perfect, right? Like we were totally expecting this. In fact, the defense doesn't look any different from last year whatsoever. We knew that this was what it was going to be. The offense is a little crazy. And when they released this list, they actually left John Tavares off of it, which was pretty funny. People were losing their mind for about 5 minutes until they corrected themselves. But besides that, Jacob Quillen is on the team right now. He's listed on the team. Easton Cowan, not listed here, which would make you assume that he's been assigned to the Marlies, but there's been no official announcement yet. And Chris Johnson has come out and said that some of these moves and the moves that were made today were just, moves to be cap compliant. This is just salary cap moves. So there is still an avenue where the Leafs could bring back up Easton Cowan. They could make some cap moves to make that happen because they had to pick up these guys on waivers at the last minute, and you won't be able to put them on waivers before the deadline that just happened today at 5 o'clock. So they were automatically assigned to the NHL team, and they had to find themselves cap compliant. Now, Sammy Blais, if maybe they send them down, right, to the AHL at this point, there's a lot of interesting avenues. The Leafs just had to set a roster, not just the Leafs, but every team had to set a roster at 5 p.m. today, and then I'm sure you can, switch things around, get some more flexibility, stuff like that, because the Leafs are right up against it. They have $19,000 in cap space right now with the moves that they've made today with those waiver claims. So there is still an avenue for Easton Cowan to come up. They haven't made an official announcement on guys like even Pizzetta, for example. So we'll see what happens over the course of the next 24 hours or 48 hours, I guess, until their first game. But some interesting moves, that is for sure.
Yeah, and for now, though, he is gone. For now, Easton Cowan is not on the team, so you can assume basically that I think the most likely outcome at this point is that he starts with the Marlies, which is a lot different than what I would have thought. Again, you can see here the right call in his opinion, play a ton of minutes, learn from mistakes without getting punished and go from there. And this is in Stephen Ellis's opinion. So, I mean, in my opinion, I don't hate it. I would have liked, and I was vocal about him being on the third, fourth line. You obviously wanted him to start with the Marlies. Probably the right decision, especially if he was going to be the 13th forward. And that's something that we discussed earlier today. I mean, they got a lot of different players. Obviously, the most recent one, Sammy Blais, and of course, Caden Primo, who could have his own video dedicated to him. Like, this guy is really, really good in the AHL. If he can find a way to turn a corner, this Leafs team could have a lot of good goaltenders. Maybe he's used as a trade chip, maybe something like that once Joseph Woll comes back. No update on Woll. Hopefully he's doing all good. And you can see here for Jacob Quillen, he's the one that they can still find ways to, David Camp's under the question, Kelly Yarncroke, of course, all these different guys. Yarncroke is there, of course. Jacob Quillen's inclusion on the Leafs opening day roster submission is a cap-related move, like you just mentioned. So a lot of weird things going on with this. At the end of the day, No Easton Cowan, which means the most likely outcome is him starting with the Marlies, and he's gone as of now. But yeah, other than that, Jacob Quillen's the biggest surprise here, and just a lot of moves have been made, and the James Reimer experience is over. I'm a little bit surprised. I don't know exactly what they were expecting. Maybe him to ramp up quicker, I guess, would have been their ideal goal. Maybe they didn't expect to be able to get Caden Primo. A lot of different things happened that only happened today. But for Easton Cowan, he's gone. Jacob Quillen, he's on there for cap reasons, which leaves the Leafs only $19,000 under the limit. And they can place, of course, Marshall Rafai and others on the LTIR, then recall Easton Cowan if they want to go that route. I would just find that a little bit weird for the Toronto Maple Leafs to do that, especially given how many players they have now. But for now, he's gone. Could always change. But regardless, this is a major turn as it pertains to things that we expected at least 24 hours ago.
Yeah, and I think that maybe Easton Cowan 24 hours ago was going to make the team, right? But then when you look 24 hours later, maybe the Leafs didn't know that Samuel Blais was going to be on waivers. They didn't know that Caden Primo was going to be on waivers, and they could fix their goaltending. Maybe not fix their goaltending, but have another NHL caliber goaltender that has NHL experience to back up Anthony Stolarz, right? So that changes everything completely over the course of 24 hours. So I think most likely, and I want to correct myself too, I don't actually believe that Easton Cowan can play the opening game, but then they can bring him back up if they wanted to the second game, right? So we'll see what happens with that. I think ultimately the best thing for his development, and I've been saying it the whole time, although it would be a fun story to have him on the team as a fourth liner, but things have changed so drastically over the last 4 or 5 days with Scott Laughton's injury, with these waiver pickups, right? Things have changed. And I think ultimately the best decision would be get him down in the Marlies, playing top 6 minutes, getting those touches, playing without, being afraid to make a mistake, and the fact that I'm only going to play 7 or 8 minutes a night or something like that. Because in the preseason, he was playing more, but in the regular season, top guys are going to be playing a lot of minutes, right? So I think ultimately it's best for his development. Just start him there, and we'll see him at some point. Although he does look ready, and Craig Berube was echoing that as well. He does look ready. He's got the foot speed. He's hungry. He's very aggressive. He's good on the forecheck, all of these things. And he's a smart hockey player. I think that he is ready, but a lot of this has to do with roles. And Samuel Blais, too, I do wonder if he sticks around on the NHL squad. But the biggest thing to remember here is the Leafs haven't made an official announcement on anything besides this. And they made some of these moves like Jacob Quillen to be cap compliant. So let's all keep that in mind. Things can change still very quickly. But they've made some sneaky good moves here, I think, over the last day or two, considering all the circumstances. So I'm just excited for the season to start. And just because one person isn't starting the first game doesn't mean we won't see them again soon. So that'll be fun. But things change very quickly in the NHL.
Yeah, Scott Laughton's injury had a ripple effect on, I think, a lot bigger than all of us could have thought. And one other note here, placing Rafai on the LTIR after submitting this opening roster would also give Toronto room to recall David Kampf if needed. So there could be a world where it's very similar, bottom 6 to last year, or at least a fourth line, I should say, and part of the bottom 6. Of course, they did add Dakota Joshua, Nicholas Waugh. Depending how that shakes up, Michelli's on the first line, we assume. Regardless, hockey's around the corner. Moves have been made, and we'll keep you up to date every step of the way. Let us know down below your thoughts around the Cowan decision. Thank you guys for watching. See you guys later.